All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, and you know what that means. Wednesday wisdom. Time to read from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer's Wisdom of the Ages and see what we can learn on our path to enlightenment or greater wisdom. Some people get carried away on the term enlightenment because it's become really popular in the last few years, and everybody's talking about enlightenment. And a lot of people think they're real woke. But it's silly out there, ladies and gentlemen, and we are on the path to real wisdom here. And in Wisdom of the Ages, best-selling author and, in my opinion, one of the best speakers of all time, he's crafted a powerful collection of writings and poems and sayings by some of the greatest thinkers of the past 25 centuries. And so in succinct original essays, Dyer explains the meaning and context of each piece of wisdom, and most importantly, how we can apply these teachings to our own modern lives. And it's been a fun time getting all the way to where we have, ladies and gentlemen. I'd say we're at least halfway. And today's reading is titled Soul Center. Isn't that fascinating? It's a beautiful day out where I am here, and I hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for joining me. I invite you to grab yourself a nice beverage, some tea, or whatever it is that you need. I got some juice today. But today comes to us from Wayne Dyer and also from Herman Melville, who lived 1819 to 1891. And once again, that's that time period, the 1800s, that so many interesting things went on in history that really shaped the world that we kind of wonder about today when we look out and say, how did we get here? It's fascinating. But Herman Melville was an American novelist, a short story writer, and a poet. Herman Melville is best known for Moby Dick and his tale of a literal and a heroic journey. And so this is the piece that Wayne Dyer is focusing on here from Moby Dick. It starts as, "For as this appalling ocean surrounds the verdant land, so in the soul of man there lies one insular Tahiti, full of peace and joy, but encompassed by all the horrors of the half-lived life." By all the horrors of the half-lived life. And that's powerful. That's one of the points that he gets to in his speeches, Wayne Dyer, that is one of my favorite parts, because it's really, it's really that deep meaning about, for all this appalling ocean surrounds the verdant land. It's like all this world that we go through, this appalling craziness that there is. And pardon the brightness, I figured I'd leave the shades and, full brightness today, ladies and gentlemen. I like it sometimes. And it's funny, on Wednesdays, I seem to have more exuberance and energy than I do on the Tuesday Tao readings, but both are just as fantastic. And I think it's necessary to have different energies at different times. This is what we've learned through some of this wisdom, is there is these cycles. It was something that we not only learned from the Tao itself and Lao Tzu, but from Leonardo da Vinci, who talked about, having balance, and Confucius talked about the patience part. But anyways, back to Herman Melville and Moby Dick here. Wayne Dyer starts by saying, "When I read this quote, I have a vivid mental picture of visiting the sweet little chapel in Assisi, Italy, where St. Francis lived and performed his well-documented miracles in the 13th century. The chapel, like most of Upper and Lower Assisi, has been largely preserved so that visitors can experience this holy place exactly as St. Francis did. It is easy to feel as if you have stepped back into the Middle Ages. Imagine yourself walking around the grounds. of a place that's been nearly, or so greatly preserved from the Middle Ages. Millions of people have pilgrimaged from around the world to pray in this ancient but well-preserved little church. The original chapel sits in the center of a much larger, more ornate building that was built hundreds of years after the death of St. Francis. The surrounding edifice has majestic columns, enormous cathedral ceilings, and an array of church tributes to St. Francis, who was a simple, gentle, and extremely passionate man. Walking in the other chambers, I felt as if I were in a museum dedicated to a highly spiritual man. And so remember this piece from Moby Dick here that we're talking about, this appalling ocean that surrounds the verdant land, this world that we go through that surrounds the stillness in the center of us that can be there. Most of us don't feel like there is stillness in the center of us because we're going around constantly concerned with the appalling ocean, quote unquote, that surrounds our verdant land. And so in the soul of man, he said, Herman Melville, there lies one insular Tahiti, an inside paradise that you can go to escape from this world. Most people think they have to get on an airplane and go, thousands of miles or hundreds of miles to get to vacation. There is an insular Tahiti, my friends, full of peace and joy, but encompassed by all the horrors of the half-lived life. And see, that's almost its own bit there. The insular Tahiti, full of peace and joy, surrounded by the appalling oceans, what we're going to get at. I'm interested to see where Wayne Dyer is going here with this discussion about St. Francis of Assisi and his highly spiritual nature. Now, when my wife and I, Wayne Dyer continues, entered the original chapel in the center, we both felt the joy and peace that this place represents. It comes back to me whenever I read, in the soul of man, there lies one insular Tahiti. We tingled with bliss, cried tears of joy, and felt the energy of unconditional love that St. Francis represents. And I've heard many people, this is my own rambling now, I've heard many people talk about these places that you can go, these holy places, and it's not just Christian sites, usually not. And there's these holy places that you can go that they give you these feelings, these strange, unexplainable, tingling sensations, and people record, crying for no reason. And a feeling, most commonly, of unconditional love. And so many people, myself partly, not 100%, I like to hold two opposing opinions. Remember the philosophers we were talking about yesterday. But many people hold the opinion that unconditional love is what the Tao or the divine intelligence or what God really is. It's just pure love. And that's a fascinating breakaway in its own. Wayne Dyer here continues this unconditional love that St. Francis represents. After meditating for 30 minutes or so, we left with the feeling of communicating with something divine. Since that time, we have often remarked how it was a turning point in our lives together. Our marriage shifted to a spiritual partnership in which our role is to assist each other in our spiritual growth. Herman Melville's words take me back to that peak experience. And remember that peak experience. If you haven't heard about peak experiences, it is something that is a theme in this kind of study. But I lost my place. Physical body, always a step removed. This is what? So after meditating, their marriage shifted and to a spiritual partnership And then Herman Melville's words, Wayne Dyer was continuing, sorry, take me back to that peak experience he had in Assisi. The original chapel in the center represents the soul, a place of divine truth and bliss. The surrounding edifice is like our physical body. It is a step removed from the beauty and truth that reside in the center, your insular Tahiti, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about ourselves metaphorically here. A half-lived life, as Melville describes it, is one in which we do not get to that inner place of peace and joy, that insular Tahiti. That this is why I started meditating, really. Now, I think I was more convinced that meditating would help me become a manifester back when I was less wise about some things. I thought manifesting was, was like the secret that you just sit on the couch and think things, but really it's putting purpose and action, putting desire backed by a definite purpose and a focused intention, and then a whole bunch of action in life. Like if you want to create the life of your dreams, you're going to have to do a whole lot more than think about it, even if that's one of the greatest steps. So don't get carried away in thinking you can think things and make them happen. Thoughts expand, and the point of that is thoughts expand into our actions, whether we like it or not. And so the real question to ask, and I've said this before, is what do you want, ladies and gentlemen? What do we all want? And I sometimes can answer that question easily for myself. Well, I want more abundance or greater peace, or but other times it's a tougher question to answer. And I think that's good when you get to that point. You're like, what do I want? Because that gets you thinking in the right direction, the direction of growth, and figuring out where you really want to go. So as we were getting at, it's that insular Tahiti, that inside place that you can go to, that we can go to through discovering times and practices of quiet and contemplation and internal thinking, which most would describe as meditation. But there's a lot of people who think they've never meditated and they've done all these things. And so practicing though, and the half-lived life, all the horrors of the half-lived life is never making it to that place. There's a great saying that says, we all sit around in a ring and suppose, while the secret sits in the center and knows. And that's funny, considering what we were just talking about a second ago. Now, as Melville describes it, a half-lived life is when we don't get to that place of peace and joy. The half-lived life is lived exclusively, I was going to say extremely physical, but it's lived exclusively in the trappings and the structures that are our outer world. And so, as if these are the horrors that Melville tells us encompass the soul. And so it's a fascinating way to describe it, as if one were unable to find the center where bliss resides. You sense that there is a deeper, richer experience of life available, yet somehow you continue to flail around in the external ocean, glimpsing that verdant Tahiti, that peaceful chapel from a distance, ladies and gentlemen. And the way we get to that Tahiti and to that chapel, or whatever your place of peace and joy inside of you is by practice. Practice. And this is why we're going through the Tao, the wisdom of the Tao and the wisdom of the ages, is because we're trying to create a higher quality of life by understanding this great wisdom, making happiness the way so that we can go through life experiencing what it was just talking about, this center where bliss resides. We can go through life after having practiced diligently and continuously. It's a lifestyle, a discipline, and we can really experience life. You sense that there is a deeper, richer experience of life available. And so trying to reach that deeper, richer experience is what I'm all about at this channel, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're getting value, consider subscribing, smash the like button, and tell somebody that you think could get value from this channel, because we're trying to reach that richer experience of life while at the same time bringing it to life. So we're not always striving for where it is we want to get, but we're arriving where we are now. And then where we want to go can follow us wherever it is we do go. Anyways, I encourage you to read. So no, wait, I was skipping a little bit there. I urge you to change the scenario now. He says, you have always chosen perhaps the most devastating scenario imaginable, and that is to face death knowing that because of some imagined fear, you have always chosen a half-lived life in which you avoided doing the things your heart beckoned you to. And this is another reason, man, I'm loving these two. These two paragraphs here are just powerful. Talks about reaching the place of bliss, living a greater, richer experience of life, and then the fear of never doing the thing that your heart beckoned you to because you lived on some imagined fear that we just, make up, and then we defend it for some reason. And Wayne Dyer here says, I say to you, I urge you and myself, I urge myself and anybody who listens to change that scenario now. Start living your life with the courage to step ashore and experience your own insular Tahiti. I think it's so funny he describes it as Tahiti. He must have loved Tahiti or something. I mean, it was back in the 1800s. So I encourage you to read and reread the poignant words of Herman Melville, written in the 19th century for you to apply today. That space in the center that he calls your soul to has no boundaries, no form. And he just calls it your soul. I add the word to because I thought it was a misprint there, but that space that he calls your soul has no boundaries, no form, no dimensions to measure. Yet it is the very core of our being. When you're able to experience that space, you will know the peace and joy that comes from a fully lived life and a fully appreciated life. Remember, I did a video about appreciating and depreciating the things in your life. If you think about it, when things depreciate, they lose their value. When you appreciate things, you usually cause them to gain value. And if you think about that, like the way that you think about your life or the things in your life, you can appreciate or depreciate them, whether they be physical things or not, which is what was just being described there about the soul. Can it be? There are no boundaries, no form, no dimensions to measure, but it is the very core of us. When you're able to experience that space, you will know the peace and joy that comes from the fully lived life and fully appreciated. That's inner space that Melville calls your soul is silent and indivisible. You can get there by meditating and then listening to your heart rather than your head. That's an interesting, I don't think I've ever heard somebody say that. Just listen to your heart rather than your head. Fascinating. You can take that multiple ways too. But your heart speaks a silent language, Wayne Dyer says, of purpose, while your head often gives you an intellectual reason that you can't follow your bliss. This is a big subject to me. Following your bliss. Like, that's why that Henry David Thoreau quote, when you advance confidently in the directions of your dreams and endeavor to live a life that you have imagined, it will be met with a success. Unexpected in common hours. And I'm sure there might be one or two words different there, but everybody's got their own favorite version of their own favorite quote. But you know, I was stuck in a life before I was creating it on purpose 4 or 5 years ago. And then I discovered that you can create your life on purpose, and there is a process, and there are practices, and there is a way that you literally create your life. And I would say now that I'm about 60, I mean, we're always 100% responsible, but as far as me consciously creating what happens in my life, I'm saying I'm about 60% there. There are some things that are still unconscious creations that I don't think we can all get 100% conscious co-creation with the Tao or with the great, universal force. But I'm getting off the subject. I wanted to let it be known that there was a time when I didn't accept and didn't realize that I was the creator of my life. And when you begin to accept and realize that, and then learn the wisdom of the ages and the wisdom of the Tao, and the secrets to manifesting your destiny, and whatever you want to call all that stuff, you really take control of your life, and you can create what it is that you want. And when you change the way you look at life, the life that you begin to see changes before your very eyes. I'm rambling a lot today, ladies and gentlemen. Wayne Dyer says, without the formless, dimensionless silence, there can be no music. There can be no music. That's powerful. Accomplished musicians say it is the silence between the notes that makes the music, is what's being described there. It's the silence between the notes that makes the music. So you don't just have down. There's got to be a pause and then another sound. Down, But you can access, and that's another reference to the importance of the silence, that space, that that peace that is within each of us. So it's another way of saying we don't have to constantly always be in action. There is a time, and there is an utmost natural importance, because in music, you can't even make music without the rest and the peace and the silence in between. You can access your verdant Tahiti, your peaceful chapel, by working your way through that appalling ocean, those architectural structures, past the shell of your body composed of bone and sinew, and arriving at that indivisible silent place within. Then just listen and glow and know that a half-lived life is not for you. Write your truths, speak your innermost feelings, and let go of what you've been told you must do or not do. You will feel fulfilled in your work, your family, and your entire life. I have no clue what I'm going to title this video, ladies and gentlemen. I can't call it Soul Center. Oh my, this is overwhelming here. All right, we're almost done with the last page here. So don't worry, hang on. We've got the best part coming up, ladies and gentlemen. So what is it that your heart begs you to do? Finding your life's purpose is what we're talking about. Discovering your soul center and finding your life's purpose. I'll have to remember that. It never tells me what time in the recording I'm at, but that's what I'll title the video if I can remember it. What is it that your heart begs you to do, ladies and gentlemen? What verdant island inside the ocean of your body beckons you to come and visit it? It could be a travel bug to explore the Galapagos or the Himalayas. Perhaps it is a feeling that is heartfelt, which implores you to open an art gallery. Wow, that one hit me. We've got like 30, probably 50 paintings sitting around here. And I've got like 40 of them listed on Etsy, but they don't really sell. None of you guys buy them anyways. If you do want to buy one, expand the description. They're sitting in the background, as you can always see. But man, open an art gallery. A heartfelt feeling that implores you to open an art gallery or work with Eskimos. What a switch there. Explore the Galapagos, the Himalayas. Perhaps it's a heartfelt feeling that wants you to open an art gallery or work with the Eskimos. Maybe it is a gnawing itch to write your own poems or your own symphony. See, that's all I need to do, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to write the secrets. No, not the secrets. The keys to manifesting and creating the life of your dreams. And then I'm also going to open an art gallery. And we'll be done. And I'll just read the Tao and Wayne Dyer for the rest of my life. If you get value out of that, consider subscribing and leave a comment and let me know if you're laughing. This is fun. All right. What is your secret in the center? Robert Frost wrote, and I said this earlier, we dance around in a ring and supposed, but the secret sits in the center, he says middle, sits in the middle and knows. We must have known that Melville was speaking about in Moby Dick. This center. Whatever you feel within you, but have avoided for whatever reason you've manufactured in your mind, give yourself permission to explore it with new eyes. And ears. Remember, those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, the great wisdom of the ages will unlock the keys, will have the keys to unlock the doors. Now, if you proceed to tell yourself that it is one thing to explore your inner chapel, but quite another to live there, now we're getting to it. And he says, as you practice assessing the silent center, be careful how you use your intellect. See, there's always one of these sentences that's like a warning, because like I was saying yesterday, sometimes this wisdom can be taken the wrong way by those of us that are still in our ego mind too much. And so, you see, if you proceed to tell yourself that it is one thing to explore your inner chapel, but quite another to live there, then carefully note how you are setting yourself up to continue wallowing in the outer chambers. See, this is metaphor, but if you're getting what's being put down here, then this is a boom to knowledge. It's quite another thing there when you're living in the peace and the bliss that you've practiced. But you have to carefully note how you set yourself up for failure by being too connected to the trappings of the appalling ocean or the world of the 10,000 things, as Lao Tzu describes it. Because you'll find yourself being trapped there. You will, see, this goes back to the manifesting part here. You will act on what you think about. That's the most important understanding. I think if anybody gets anything out of any of the videos that I do, it is that you will act on what you think about, because what you think about expands. And eventually, you'll begin to act on those thoughts that have expanded. So choose your thoughts wisely, carefully. Like we don't have a lot of time for thinking about things that are silly, that don't matter to us, because people love to get trapped up in the drama of the world. Like, oh, this person and that person are having arguments and there's court cases. And I'm like, are you creating your life on purpose? Or are you filling the limited time of thought expansion ability with thinking about things that don't matter? It's fascinating. It's fascinating, ladies and gentlemen. But so, and if you think it's impossible, whatever it is, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to create for yourself and your life, if you believe that it's impossible, impractical, it doesn't work, oh, that's just a bunch of, people trying to sell a product. Like, does nobody know about the nocebo and placebo effects, placebo, whatever? I'm like, this is real stuff. They put placebo pills in birth control medicine because it works, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure ladies will know more about that than the gentlemen, but like placebos are real. And so it's very important for us to understand what we think about what it is that we want to do, whether it's a healing, whether it's a promotion, a more abundance, more peace, more comfort, more joy in life. If we think it's impossible, impractical, and beyond our reach, then this is precisely what we will act upon. And as we've learned about the universe, it is precisely what the universe will give to us. It's like, oh, this is okay. It's impartial. There's nowhere that this great force that we're talking about working with is not. So if you think negativity and lack and scarcity, then what's going to come to you? The universe is like, oh, negativity, lack, scarcity, here you go. We have to believe that what we want is already coming to us. And when I say believe, we have to have a certainty, a knowing. I did not think this would go where it's gone today, but some of these paragraphs here are very, very important. And, if we begin to act on things are impractical and they won't work out for us and they're beyond our reach, then it's precisely what we will get. And it is back to the appalling ocean we go. And we need to get to that verdant land that is surrounded by the appalling ocean, our insular Tahiti, ladies and gentlemen. Melville wrote in the 19th century, Wayne Dyer continues, but he was writing to you and me. He left this planet before we ever showed up, you or I. Or maybe we were there at the same time and we're here again. Either way, yet his words ring true today. The same life force that flowed through this great novelist also flows through us today. He felt the horror of a half-lived life was a result of ignoring the inner silent spark of life that gives peace and joy to all of us. Here are Wayne Dyer's suggestions for implementing this wisdom today. This is why you want to get this book. Expand the description below the video, and there's a link to it, and you can get this for yourself to put it on your shelf. Number 1, practice a daily meditation in which you go to that silent space within. And I've recommended a meditation practice, whether you call it that or not, many times on this channel. This inner place will give you a sense of peace that is impossible to know when you are enmeshed in the turmoil of the appalling ocean, quote unquote, or the external world that we go through and that we experience, that can be turned into a way of joy, a way of peace. Listen to your heart. This is number 2. Listen to your heart, not your head. Your feelings are a sensitive barometer for what you love to do. Imagine yourself visiting your expression of the verdant Tahiti, the verdant land, the insular Tahiti. He mentioned them. I love that. Imagine yourself visiting this place, wherever, or this ability or this comfort, this abundance, whatever it is you want in your life. Experience that in your soul and then in your mind. All the details of doing what you love and loving what you do. This is like a master class. Number 3, take the risks involved in listening to your soul, ladies and gentlemen. Be very careful to avoid projecting thoughts of fear, failure, and catastrophe onto your decisions. Be very careful. I'm telling you what, if you contaminate, and that's really what it is, there's a contamination process that goes on with our process of creating our life on purpose, if we block it, if we block the flow of the force with us using these principles and practices that we're learning here and throughout all the wisdom of the ages and the wisdom of the Tao, and I'm going to have to get manifesting your destiny, and we'll hop onto that next. But you know, there's these principles and practices, and if you contaminate the process with projections, thoughts of failure and fear and catastrophe, it will block it immediately, and we won't manifest what we want in our lives. Now, sorry, this is great for me. I love this. All of this has been wonderful. Remind yourself each day, and this is part of number 3, sorry, that Herman Melville was writing to you, and that when the angel of death comes a calling, and the call is inevitable, you won't say, I'm horrified. Wait, I've only lived halfway. You will say, I am at peace. I have no fear. And I have been to Tahiti. Oh, Dr. Wayne Dyer. That was a fantastic. Because when you do get to that place, ladies and gentlemen, when you start creating life on purpose, you do have, I mean, when you start to know all this stuff, you lose your fear of death, because you know that that's just a promotion. And really, you know, it's all a journey of growth. And when you've finished your growing in this classroom, there's no point to stick around in the classroom if there's nothing more to learn. But see, we're getting off the subject again here. This was about finding your soul center and creating the life of your dreams. This one was deep. I loved it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Boom to Knowledge. I hope you got value. Hope you consider subscribing. I'll be back maybe before next Tuesday, but if I'm not, then I will see you next Tuesday, guaranteed, ladies and gentlemen, for Tuesday Tao, reading from Dr. Wayne Dyer's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. And, you know, once again, we're here seeking to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through a greater understanding, through a greater awareness of the nature of reality itself, the world that we live in, by discovering and researching through the wisdom of the ages, ladies and gentlemen. And there is just that. There's a great wisdom that so many of us live our entire lives without discovering. And when we get to this level of happiness through understanding and awareness, enlightenment, we can begin to make happiness the way, the path, the activity that we bring to life every moment of life as we go through life, and in turn changing the quality of all of our lives and those that we experience and around us, that we experience in our lives and that are around us. And when we begin to make happiness the way, ladies and gentlemen, the destination becomes irrelevant, because we're already where we want it to be. And then, you know, we can be happy going wherever it is that we want to go in our life. And this video today was just about finding that place of inner peace and creating the life of our dreams. I hope you loved that, ladies and gentlemen. I know I did. I'll be back in the future. Like I already said, if you got value, consider subscribing, smash the like button, leave me a comment, and let me know if this was a powerful one for you. Thank you. Love you, ladies and gentlemen.